Service, NATO, NATO, every day.
Forces, NATO, access, forces, service, forces.
Actually, service.
Actually,
NATO, forces.
actually, forces, NATO,
Forces.
absolutely, actually,
Forces.
NATO, actually,
Service. Forces.
Service.
NATO,
Service, forces. Sorry, I just
actually,
Service. NATO.
actually, NATO,
Right now.
forces, actually, forces, NATO,
Service. Oh, and you NATO actually.
action,
Service.
actually,
NATO,
Forces.
NATO,
Forces.
Service.